Narcissists don't destroy you with violence. They destroy you with something far more subtle. They shatter the mirror you use to see yourself. They make you question yourself. They make you question your own reality. They make you believe that you are the problem. And by the time you realize what's happening, you can't even trust your own mind anymore. Welcome to MindSpark Psychology. Today, you are going to explore one of the darkest corners of the psychological world, narcissistic personality disorder, how these people operate, how to recognize them, and most importantly, how to protect yourself. When most people hear the word narcissism, they think of the same thing: someone who loves themselves, someone who spends hours in front of a mirror, someone with an ego that's way too big. But real narcissism is much darker, much more dangerous, and much more hidden. In psychology, narcissistic personality disorder is one of the least understood conditions that exist, because narcissists are incredibly good actors. To recognize them, you first need to understand how they operate. And today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to break down the anatomy of narcissistic personality disorder. You're going to learn the different types, you're going to learn how to identify them, and you're going to learn the most critical thing of all, how to protect yourself from these people. Stay alert, because what I'm about to share might describe someone's experience, and that person may never have realized it. Let's begin. Section 1. What is narcissistic personality disorder? First, we need to understand the foundation. Narcissistic personality disorder, clinically known as NPD, is one of the most studied yet most misunderstood conditions in psychology. According to the DSM, which is the diagnostic criteria used by mental health professionals, NPD is defined by a lack of empathy, a persistent sense of grandiosity, and a constant need for admiration and attention. But here's an important distinction. Not every narcissist has narcissistic personality disorder, and not every narcissistic behavior is a disorder. Everyone has a little bit of narcissism inside them. That's normal. That's even healthy. But people with narcissistic personality disorder, they experience and inflict this on an extreme level. So how do these people come about? According to psychologists, NPD typically develops early in life. It's usually connected to childhood experiences. There are two scenarios. The first scenario, excessive praise. The child is constantly told, "You're perfect, you can do anything, you're special." And that child grows up believing the entire world should revolve around them. The second scenario, the opposite. Excessive criticism and rejection. The child constantly feels like they're never good enough. And over time, to protect themselves from that pain, they build a mask. I have to be perfect so no one can ever make me feel small again. In both cases, the result is the same. The child grows up and continues living with that false belief that the world should bend to them. But pay attention now, because the next section paints a picture that's far more complex than most people expect. Section 2, the 3 types of narcissism. Narcissism operates on a spectrum, and not every narcissist behaves the same way. Psychology identifies 3 main types, and each one carries its own unique weapon. The first type, Grandiose Narcissism. This is the easiest type to spot. The grandiose narcissist wants to be the loudest voice in every room. They want to be the best at everything. They need to be the center of attention at all times. At work, they create the feeling that nothing works without me. In relationships, they make you feel like you're lucky to have me. These narcissists are incredibly charismatic. At first, they captivate everyone around them, but their inner circle is usually exhausted and disillusioned, because living around one is an incredibly draining experience. The second type, Covert Narcissism, also known as vulnerable narcissism. This type is far more dangerous because it's hidden. The covert narcissist looks ordinary from the outside. They might even appear humble. They might look sensitive and fragile. But inside, that exact same sense of grandiosity exists. It's just expressed differently. The covert narcissist positions themselves as, "The world doesn't treat me fairly." They see themselves as the victim. But if you pay close attention, they are always the victim in every situation. The most defining feature of this type is the use of vulnerability as a weapon. They cry, they break down, and they make you feel guilty. But in reality, they're manipulating you. And that's exactly why this type is the hardest to identify. The third type, functional narcissism, also called successful narcissism. This type is the most common, and it's the type you find most frequently at the highest levels of society. The functional narcissist appears incredibly successful. They have a career, they're a thriving professional, they're respected in their community. From the outside, everything looks perfect. Perfect family, perfect life. But the moment the door closes, a completely different person emerges. Functional narcissists are masterful at wearing masks because their success depends on it, and that's why they go undetected the longest. According to psychologists, functional narcissists build the deepest relationships with people closest to them. Perfect in public, but controlling and manipulative in private. And now, I'm going to reveal how narcissists actually manipulate. Section 3. The Narcissist's Arsenal. Every narcissist carries an arsenal of weapons, and these weapons are extremely well documented. Weapon 1, love bombing. The first phase is always the same. The narcissist shows you an overwhelming amount of attention, constant compliments, constant focus, a constant feeling of you are special, and it feels incredibly real because the intensity of this attention is unlike anything you've experienced before. But here's the hidden strategy. The narcissist lifts you up. They place you on a pedestal because once you're that high, the fall becomes that much more devastating. Weapon 2, gaslighting, the manipulation of reality. This is the narcissist's most dangerous weapon. Through gaslighting, the narcissist rewrites your reality. They say something, then they say, "Did I actually say that?" They upset you, then they say, "You're overreacting." They do something wrong, then they say, "You're remembering it incorrectly." And slowly, you start losing trust in yourself. This is so destructive because the narcissist gradually cuts you off from the outside world and leaves you trapped inside a reality that only they control. Weapon 3, intermittent reinforcement. This technique is one of the most powerful mechanisms for creating addiction. The narcissist treats you incredibly well sometimes, then suddenly goes cold, then warm again, then cold again. This pattern affects your brain chemistry, it affects your dopamine system, and it essentially programs you to live in a constant state of waiting for the next reward. It's the exact same mechanism behind slot machines, and slot machines create addiction for precisely this reason. In other words, the narcissist, consciously or not, is making you dependent on them. Weapon 4, triangulation. The narcissist compares you to someone else. Sometimes an ex, sometimes a friend, sometimes a completely imaginary person. They really understood me. They would have done anything for me. The goal is simple: to make you feel like you're never enough, to trap you in a constant race of trying to prove yourself, and this race can never be won. Weapon 5, the discard. The final weapon is the most painful. When the narcissist no longer finds you useful, they discard you, suddenly, coldly, as if you never existed at all. A relationship that lasted years ends in an instant with the feeling of you mean nothing. And this is the phase that causes the deepest psychological damage. But now, we arrive at the most critical question. How do you actually spot these people? Section 4, how to spot a narcissist. Most people can't identify narcissists. Because narcissists are masterful performers, but there are several critical warning signs. And if you know them, you can catch it early. Sign 1, lack of empathy. Narcissists don't genuinely feel other people's emotions. They might imitate it. They might intellectually understand it, but they don't feel it. When you lose someone close to you, their response stays shallow. While you're crying, they might say something like, "Do you really need to cry this much?" Sign 2. Constant subtle criticism. The narcissist constantly criticizes you, whether small things or big ones. But these criticisms always arrive disguised. "I was just trying to help. I'm just being honest with you." But after every single criticism, you feel a little smaller than before. Sign 3. The victim role. In every situation, they are the victim. They never take responsibility. They always blame someone else. "That's not my fault. You did this to me. The world doesn't treat me fairly." Sign 4. A repeating pattern in relationships. Look at the people around the narcissist. Do they tell you the same things? "Living with that person is exhausting. I always feel small around them." If everyone around a person feels the same way, that person might be a narcissist. Sign 5. Disregarding boundaries. Narcissists don't recognize boundaries. "You're too sensitive. Stop setting so many boundaries. You weren't like this before." And over time, you start tearing down your own boundaries because you shrink yourself to survive in their world. When you see these 5 signs, stop and ask yourself one question. How does this person make me feel? Because the narcissist's greatest power lies in making sure you never ask that question. Section 5. How to protect yourself, the final and most important section. If there is a narcissist in your life, what do you do? Protection 1. Document your reality. The most powerful defense against gaslighting is evidence. Save messages, record conversations, write down what was said during important moments. Because when the narcissist tries to rewrite your reality, you yourself might start thinking, "Am I remembering this wrong?" Your records will remind you of the truth. Protection 2. Set boundaries and defend them. One of the narcissist's most insidious tactics is testing your limits. They test how far they can push you, and if you don't push back, they push harder. Say no, even in small things, and accept the consequences that come with it. Protection 3. Talk to people you trust. Narcissists isolate you. This is a deliberate strategy. If you talk to your family, your friends, the narcissist won't like it because outside eyes can see the truth. And the narcissist's greatest fear is having their reality seen by someone else. Protection 4. End the relationship. This is the hardest step, but it is the most important one. A long-term healthy relationship with a narcissist is not possible because narcissism is not something that can be cured. The vast majority of narcissists never even seek therapy because they genuinely believe nothing is wrong with them. To protect yourself, you need to walk away. Protection 5. Seek professional help. Escaping a narcissistic relationship is psychologically devastating. You may need to work with a professional. This is not a weakness. This is a necessity because the narcissist may have caused you deep psychological damage, and that damage needs time and support to heal. That's it. Narcissism is a silent poison. It works slowly, and by the time it's noticed, it's usually too late. But now you know how they operate, you know how to recognize them, and you know how to protect yourself. And that knowledge is the most powerful weapon you have, because the narcissist's greatest strength is going unnoticed. And once you notice, that strength disappears. If what I shared in this video resonated with you, if you've been through something like this, or you're going through it right now, you are not alone. And it is never too late to get help. Leave a comment. Share your experience. Because sometimes, simply putting these things into words is the most powerful first step. See you in the next video. Take care of yourself. And remember, awareness is the first step toward freedom.